A new U.S. immigration law just passed, and social media is screaming that yet millions of green card holders could face deportation. Is your status really at risk, or is this being blown out of proportion? Stay with me because the truth is very different from the headlines. If you are a United States citizen, a green card holder, or someone currently waiting for your immigration case to be approved, it makes sense that you might be feeling unsettled right now. Over the past several days, headlines and social media posts have been circulating with big, scary words attached to them. Shocking, unprecedented, emergency, game-changing immigration law. Maybe a family member forwarded you a link with a panicked message. Maybe you saw a short video that made your heart race. Maybe you've read that millions of green card holders are now at risk. If that has left you feeling worried, confused, or even scared, I want you to know two things. First, you are not alone. Many people are feeling exactly what you are feeling. Second, my goal in this video is the opposite of fear. I am here to slow things down, explain what has actually changed in calm, simple language, and help you understand whether this law has any real impact on your life. You're watching Immigration Updates Hub. I've been following U.S. immigration news and policy for years, and I take that responsibility seriously because I know these issues are not abstract. They affect homes, jobs, families, and futures. Let's take a breath together, slow down, and walk through this step by step. Before we go any further, I need to say something very important. I am not an immigration attorney. I am not a government official. I do not work for USCIS, IC, DHS, or any federal agency. Everything I share here is an general information for educational purposes. It is meant to help you understand the news and the context more around it. It is not legal advice. If you have specific concerns about your immigration case, your green card, your criminal record, or anything about your particular situation, you need to speak with a qualified immigration lawyer who can look at your personal history and give you tailored guidance. What I offer here is explanation and perspective. Nothing more and nothing less. Now, let's talk about what has actually happened. A new immigration-related law has recently gone through the legislative process in the United States. Different media outlets and commentators have described it in very different ways. Some call it a massive overhaul of the entire immigration system. Others claim that it suddenly puts millions of green card holders at risk. I have seen headlines saying, permanent residents should be terrified, or this changes everything overnight. That kind of language is great for clicks, but it's usually terrible for understanding. Here is the reality. This new law does introduce changes, but those changes are targeted. They focus on specific categories of people, primarily those with serious criminal convictions. The law strengthens certain enforcement tools and changes some procedures, particularly around people who have been convicted of violent crimes, major drug offenses, or other public safety-related offenses. It does not create brand new reasons to deport green card holders who are living peacefully, following the law, paying taxes, and minding their own business. It does not say that any green card holder can now be removed for anything. It is aimed at a much narrower slice of cases. So who does this law actually touch? The most significant changes are directed at people who have been convicted of serious crimes, especially those involving violence, weapons, or major drug trafficking, have certain aggravated felony convictions under immigration law, pose well-documented public safety risks, yet in the eyes of enforcement agencies. For these individuals, the new law streamlines. Some enforcement procedures can make it faster and easier for the government to initiate removal, may limit some of the layers of appeal or judicial review that were previously available. That is serious. If you or someone you love falls into that narrow category, you absolutely need individualized legal advice because the stakes are high and the rules have become tougher. But now comes the part that matters most for the majority of people watching this. If you are a green card holder who has no serious criminal convictions, is living a normal, law-abiding life, is working, studying, raising a family, paying taxes, and following the rules this law does not suddenly make you a target. It does not turn a parking ticket into a deportation order. It does not change your basic green card protections overnight. Your permanent resident status is not erased because a headline said, "Immigration law shocker." I want to take a moment here because I know even hearing about enforcement and removal can tighten your chest and make your mind race. If your heart is beating faster as you listen to this, that's understandable. You worked very hard to get your green card or to reach citizenship. You've been through forms, interviews, background checks, maybe years of waiting. The idea that some new law could yank that away is terrifying. So let me say this very clearly to most of you. If you are living here lawfully without serious criminal issues in your record, this law is not aimed at you. Your green card remains valid. Your status remains protected. You still have the same core rights and responsibilities you had before this law passed. The U.S. immigration system is flawed. It can be slow, confusing, and sometimes unfair, but it is still a system of us laws, courts, and procedures. It is not a system where someone just shows up one day and takes your status without any notice or any process. Let's address some of the specific myths and misunderstandings that have been spreading. Myth number 1. Now, any little legal issue can get you deported. Reality: immigration law still makes a clear distinction between minor issues and serious crimes. A traffic ticket does not might put your green card at risk. A parking violation does not put your green card at risk. Even many lower-level misdemeanors, while never something to ignore, are not automatically the kind of offenses this law is targeting. The law is focused on specific categories of more serious offenses already recognized in immigration law. And even in those cases, there is still a process. Evidence must be presented, legal standards must be met, and in many cases, an immigration judge will still be involved. Myth number 2. Immigration officers can now just knock on your door and take your green card away with no process. Reality: that is not how this system is built. The United States still has immigration courts, administrative procedures, rules of evidence, opportunities, even if sometimes limited, to respond and defend yourself. Even under this new law, permanent resident status is not something an officer can legally erase on a whim because they feel like it. Could a serious criminal case move faster under these new rules? Yes. Could there be fewer levels of appeal for certain categories? Yes. But a basic idea remains. There must be a case. There must be allegations. There must be legal authority. There must be some form of procedure. Myth number 3. This law affects naturalized citizens the same way it affects green card holders. Reality: there is a major legal difference between being a permanent resident and being a U.S. citizen. If you have already gone through the naturalization process and taken the oath, you are a U.S. citizen. As a citizen, you have the same fundamental rights and protections as any U.S.-born citizen. Cannot simply be deported like a permanent resident. There are laws about denaturalization. But they are not new and they are rarely used. They apply to very specific situations, such as serious fraud in how you got your citizenship. For example, hiding a major criminal past or lying about your identity. Certain national security-related issues. The new enforcement law we're talking about does not rewrite the basic rules of citizenship. If you became a citizen honestly and lawfully, your citizenship remains secure. This law does not suddenly place all naturalized citizens under review. Myth number 4. Dual citizens are now in danger or will have to choose one country. Reality: the United States has long recognized that many citizens have dual citizenship. This is not illegal under U.S. law. People can and do hold a U.S. passport and another country's passport at the same time. The new enforcement law does not say dual citizens must give up their other citizenship. And it does not create a general new risk based solely on the fact that you have two nationalities. If you are a dual citizen who obtained your U.S. citizenship properly, your status is not suddenly unstable just because of this legislation. Now let's talk directly to those of you who are still in the middle of your immigration process. Maybe you have an I-130 or I-140 pending, are waiting for a green card interview, have a pending adjustment of status, are waiting for asylum, TPS, or some other relief. You might be wondering, does this law now make my case harder? Will my pending application be denied because of this change? In most situations, the answer is minus day. No. This law is focused mainly on privacy enforcement. That is what happens when the government wants to remove someone they believe is deportable, especially because of serious criminal issues. USCIS continues to adjudicate new applications and petitions under the existing eligibility criteria. The basic requirements for family-based, employment-based, and many other categories have not been radically rewritten by this law. That said, if you have a complicated history, especially if it includes criminal charges, arrests, or past immigration violations, you should be working closely with an immigration attorney anyway. Significant criminal history is a complex issue even without new laws, and enforcement-focused changes just add another reason to get professional help. This brings us to some practical guidance. First, and most importantly, do not panic. I know that is easy for me to say and hard to do when you're the one lying awake at night thinking about your future. But panic leads people to bad decisions. Quitting jobs abruptly, canceling normal travel for no reason, selling property out of fear, avoiding contact with government agencies even when they need to respond. For the vast majority of green card holders living ordinary, lawful lives, this law does not suddenly make you deportable. Second, stay informed, but be careful about your sources. Not every website, video, or social media post is accurate. Some are misinformed, others are intentionally exaggerated. When you want to know how a law works, start with official government websites like USCIS.gov and justice.gov, reputable legal organizations and bar associations, immigration attorneys with a known track record. Use videos like this one for context, but do not rely solely on random comments or viral clips. Third, if you have any past legal issues, even if they seemed minor, talk to a qualified attorney. This is not because you are definitely in danger. It's because understanding your own record and how immigration law sees it will give you real peace of mind. Many people worry for years about something that is legally insignificant, while others assume a past conviction is no big deal, when in immigration law it actually is a big issue. Knowing the truth about your own case, good or bad, is always better than guessing. Fourth, keep your documents organized. This is good advice in any immigration climate. Keep copies of your green card, front and back, your passport, any prior approval notices, court records if you've ever had a criminal case, tax returns, and proof of U.S. residence. Having these in one secure place makes it easier to respond if you ever need to answer a question, renew your status, or consult a lawyer. What you should not want to do is make drastic life changes based only on fear and rumors. Do not sell your house and move countries based only on a headline. Do not abandon your life here because you're afraid that something might happen, without ever confirming whether that fear is grounded in real law that applies to your situation. Before making any major decision, talk to a professional who can look at your exact facts. Now let's zoom out and talk briefly about immigration processing in general, because I know many of you are already frustrated and exhausted by delays. Over the last several years, immigration processing times have risen dramatically in many categories. Cases that once took a few months now can take a year or longer. Interviews get rescheduled. Some days it feels like USCIS has forgotten you exist. This is painful, it is stressful, it is not fair, but it is not the same thing as being targeted by enforcement. Long processing times are a symptom of backlogs, understaffing, policy changes, and volume. They are a system-level problem, not a personal punishment for you. When you combine long waits with alarming headlines, it's easy to feel like something is closing in on you. But in most cases, a slow case is still just a slow case. The file is in a line, moving one step at a time. Silence does not equal denial. No update does not automatically mean something went wrong. If you are worried your case is truly outside normal time ranges, check the mistoy. Check case processing times. Tool on the USCIS website. If your case is well beyond normal, you can submit an online inquiry. Ask your attorney to follow up. In some limited, urgent situations, request expedited processing. But even then, many people will still simply have to wait. If you are a green card holder thinking about travel during this time, you may also be nervous. Headlines about enforcement can make it feel dangerous to even leave the United States for a short trip. Here is some balanced guidance. If you are a lawful permanent resident in good standing, with no serious criminal issues and no long absences, you generally cannot travel internationally and return, as long as your green card and passport are valid. However, trips longer than about 6 months can raise questions about whether you are truly maintaining multiple permanent residence in the U.S. Trips longer than a year without a reentry permit can be even riskier and may be seen as abandonment in some circumstances. If you have any complicated history, criminal matters, past removal orders, long absences, or other red flags, you should always talk to an immigration attorney before taking an international trip. For the average green card holder going on a normal vacation or family visit abroad, this law does not turn that into a new danger zone, but always think ahead about length of trip and your overall pattern of residence. Finally, I want to talk directly about the emotional side because that is just as real as the legal side. Immigration is not just forms and statutes. It is years of sacrifice, risk, and hope. It is leaving one life and building another. When you hear that a new law has passed, it can feel like the ground under your feet is shaking. Your fear is not silly or weak. It is understandable. You have invested so much into your status and your future here that any suggestion it could be threatened hits a very deep place. But I want to gently encourage you to remember this. Not every headline deserves your panic. Not every viral post is a fair summary of reality. Not every shocking law is actually shocking once you look at the details. Sometimes the most protective thing you can do for yourself is close the news apps for a while. Step away from social media doom scrolling. Talk to real people you trust. Check official sources instead of rumors. Remember, your worth, your contribution, and your right to feel at home are not determined by clickbait. Let's bring everything together. A new immigration enforcement law has passed. Yes, it might as well change some things, particularly for people with certain types of serious criminal convictions. It can make it easier and faster for the government to remove some individuals who already fell into serious enforcement categories. But for the vast majority of green card holders living lawfully, without serious criminal histories, working, studying, raising families, contributing to their communities, this law does not suddenly put you in danger. Naturalized U.S. citizens remain citizens with full rights. Dual citizens are not broadly targeted by this law. Minor legal issues like traffic tickets do not magically become deportation triggers overnight. Due process still exists, even if some parts of it have been tightened in specific situations. The immigration system is slow and often frustrating. That slowness means changes take time to play out. It also means nothing truly changes everything for everyone overnight, no matter what a headline says. I hope that after hearing this, you feel a bit more informed and a bit more at peace. The U.S. immigration system is many things. It can be confusing, slow, and bureaucratic, but it is not a random machine that suddenly erases the lives of people who are doing everything right. It is still built on written laws, procedures, and time. Stay informed, stay organized, stay connected to reliable sources, and above all, try to stay calm. Knowledge is your best defense against unnecessary fear. If you found this explanation from Immigration Updates Hub helpful, and you want more calm, detailed breakdowns of U.S. immigration news, consider staying connected to this channel. If you have questions or there are topics you want us to cover in future videos, share them in the comments. I read as many as I can, and your input helps me understand what matters most to you. Thank you for taking the time to watch this all the way through. I know your time and attention are valuable. Whether you are a citizen, a green card holder, or someone still waiting for your own approval, I wish you clarity, stability, and peace. You have worked incredibly hard to get to where you are. You deserve to feel secure in your future. Until next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep moving forward one step at a time. Your new U.S. immigration law just passed, and social media is screaming that millions of green card holders could face deportation. Is your status really at risk, or is this being blown out of proportion? Stay with me because the truth is very different from the headlines.